My name is Fred Jones, and I am born in Newport News, Virginia.
Early in life, Fred Jones felt anchored down by one dead-end job after another.
I got laid off from the shipyard, which I didn't want to be working there anyway.
But the trajectory of his career takes off when that pink slip arrives.
Right, exactly.
At 22, Fred accepts an offer from an employer which was boldly going where no human had gone before.
They called me up one day and says, "Fred, we got a job opening for you. You want to come to work?" And I said, yeah.
In 1958, Fred begins working for NASA before it was NASA.
Back then it was NACA, National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Probably a lot of people don't know that, you know.
A photographer in the Naval Reserves, Fred finds his calling in the photo lab at NASA Langley in Hampton.
You know, you see the first space shot. Everybody was gathered around the TV and in the photo lab, and we saw this first shot. And it's just amazing. It just took off.
Senior staff recognizes that their new employee possesses the right stuff.
I knew what I had to do to improve my photography.
Fred rubs shoulders with NASA's first rocket men like Gus Grissom and John Glenn.
And I think that was Liberty Bell 7. And they had to photograph them, so we did get close. They were nice guys. I mean, they didn't feel like they were above people.
Fred was soaring at a time when America was locked in a fierce competition to reach the heavens.
Very intense.
In the early 60s, Russia was flexing its muscle by dominating the early space race.
First woman in space, and they did some things that we hadn't even started to do.
Not to be outdone, NASA sets high expectations for its own team, dubbed Mercury 7.
Godspeed, John Glenn.
The young photographer is willing to go along for the adrenaline-fueled ride.
This is transferring me. What was thrilling was that they said, "Would you be interested in going out and shooting recovery pictures?" I said, yes. Why not?
Project Mercury was born October 7, 1958.
During NASA's early flights, the cameraman never witnesses a launch.
I was always on a recovery ship, on a liftoff. That's where we always were, on a destroyer or a carrier.
Fred's job?
That's me there.
Capture images of America's space travelers returning to Earth.
This is the helicopters that the cameras were attached to.
Fred's cameras roll as each astronaut is rescued from the Atlantic.
We took movies of them picking them up out of the water. It was something else.
Hello, Mercury Recovery. This is Friendship 7. Do you receive?
A lot. A lot of pressure.
The 85-year-old still shudders, thinking about missing a critical moment.
That was kind of nerve-wracking, but that was everything. We tested and tested and tested and tested, and we knew everything pretty much was going to work, you know.
While capturing history,
this is a Mercury capsule here.
His responsibilities require sitting in a front row seat that was practically still warm.
I got in there and was going to shoot some pictures of the switches in there that were thrown. I still had a flight suit on, as you can see, and that's what we kind of wore when we crawled around in those capsules.
40 feet down, 2.5.
During NASA's crowning achievement in July of 1969,
That's one small step for man,
when Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon,
one giant leap for mankind.
Fred wasn't at Langley or waiting on a ship at sea.
I was laying in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning or whenever they landed and watching it on TV. And I said, all right, hot damn. They landed on the moon.
Roger, forward.
In 1997, Fred finally powered down his camera for the last time,
Worked on all of them.
snapping the last of countless photos over 39 years.
No, I wouldn't even remember how many I've taken.
The married father reflects on his role that spanned Mercury to the space shuttle.
I was very happy to work for NASA. Really awestruck.
Fred Jones, a photographer whose career was certainly out of this world.
They have an archive at NASA Langley that these pictures are being stored at, and they'll live on forever.
For I Have a Story.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around. Oh, that view is tremendous.
I'm Greg McQuaid, CBS 6 News.